My name is April. Standing on the stage, the blinding lights made me squint, and the applause from the audience was like a distant echo. I looked down at my left arm. The scar that had haunted me for so long was now exposed under the harsh stage lights. It was a purple and white, angry mark, a map of a nightmare I couldn't forget. A few days ago, I received a call from my Aunt Vivian. Her voice was sickly sweet, telling me she was cleaning out the attic and found a box of my father's things. I drove to her mansion in my old car, the box on the passenger seat vibrating with the engine's hum. When I opened it at a gas station on the way, I knew something was wrong. It was filled with useless junk, while the important journals, letters, and medals were missing. At the 4th of July barbecue at her place, the air was filled with the smell of expensive charcoal and the sound of laughter. Aunt Vivian was the center of attention, as always. When she saw me, she made a big show of my arrival. A stranger asked about my long-sleeved shirt in the hot weather, and that's when Aunt Vivian pounced. She mocked my scar, turning it into a cruel joke for the guests. She goaded me to tell everyone how I got it, insinuating it was a minor accident, a ploy for attention. Just when I felt cornered, Colonel Henry, Aunt Vivian's husband, stepped in. He asked me about my service location, and when I told him, he uttered a code that only those in the know would understand. It was like a switch flipped in him. He saw through my pain and the truth behind the scar. I was transported back to that fateful night in 2016. We were on a medical escort mission. The intel was clean, but war doesn't follow rules. An explosion ripped through the lead vehicle. I was in the second one. When we stopped, I jumped into action. I found the driver dead and then saw Sergeant Ethan pinned in the passenger seat. The fire was closing in, and I tried everything to get him out. My sleeve caught on the door frame, and my arm pressed against the superheated metal. I smelled my skin burning, but I couldn't let go. Ethan, calm as ever, told me to stop, but I refused. In the end, the fuel tank ruptured, and I was pulled away as he disappeared in the fireball. After the barbecue, Colonel Henry called me to a coffee shop. He showed me a black velvet box with a unit crest that Ethan used to wear. He told me he'd kept everything related to Ethan, and he'd read the incident report years ago. He also pulled out an envelope, a letter Ethan wrote the night before the convoy. He'd never opened it, afraid of what it might say. I started to suspect Aunt Vivian was up to something when I found important items missing from my father's box. And then, I got an email from a TV producer. Aunt Vivian had been pitching a story about me, trying to spin it to her advantage. She wanted to make me look like a broken veteran and herself a savior. At the Redfield Response Institute, where I worked, a video of Colonel Henry saluting me at the barbecue went viral. The institute's management was worried about the optics and asked me to take a leave of absence. Aunt Vivian called, trying to manipulate me into going on the show with her and letting her control the narrative. But I was done being her puppet. I also got a text from Ethan's wife, Lily. She'd seen the barbecue clip and thanked me for taking care of Ethan. Her words gave me the strength to face the truth head on. Colonel Henry warned me that Aunt Vivian was telling the producers I was mentally unstable. I decided to go on the show on my own terms. I set conditions. No pre-interview coaching, no war zone dramatization, and Aunt Vivian wouldn't know I was coming until I walked onto the set. Now, on the stage, Kara, the morning show host, tried to push the training accident narrative. Aunt Vivian jumped in to support it. But I wasn't going to let them distort the truth. I told the whole story, about the explosion, about Ethan, and about my scar. I held up the letter Ethan wrote, and the room fell silent. I walked off the stage, free from the chains of silence and shame. After that, things changed rapidly. The Institute wanted me back, and Kara issued an apology. The truth about Aunt Vivian's misuse of military charities came out, and she was forced to step down from the charity board. My family, who had been silent before, finally spoke up, apologizing for not standing up for me. That evening, I received a package from Lily. Inside was a photo of Ethan, smiling, and a small wrench. A note said Ethan thought a good medic was like a good mechanic, and he wanted me to have something that fixes things. I looked out of my apartment window, the night air cool on my exposed scar. For the first time in years, I felt at peace. I was no longer hiding. I was just April, a combat medic who had survived and finally found her voice.